facilities to help you. And my son in particular felt that I should quit. My son was a teacher and he has already retired, but he's given up and he's fine for Mother to teach as long as she wants to.
I know every summer as it gets toward fall, I'll ask her now, Dora, are you going back to school this year? And she always tells me, well, you know, I'm feeling good. I still feel like I make an impact with the students. And so, yes, I'm going to go back. And I think that's great.
I am not surprised that Dora Fowler hasn't retired. And I am not surprised that she continues to return to Roxbury. I will be surprised when she decides to stop, because her goal is to keep helping children. And there are countless numbers of students that she's helped over the years. And she's still helpful in the classroom and still has that passion and that commitment.
I am enjoying life very much. I have nothing to retire to because I like what I'm doing.
I think Dora was able to retire when I started here 29 years ago. Originally back in the summer of 1979 when I interviewed for this job, it didn't occur to me that I would be replacing Dora. I just knew it was an elementary position. But it turned out that they had decided they would wanted Dora to do junior high. So I started in 1979, 29 years ago, in effect replacing Dora. And here it is 29 years later and she's still going strong, and I'm looking to retire in a year.
I think I'm going to be a little embarrassed if I teach after 90, but I wouldn't be surprised but what I would.
I don't think Dora's at all crazy. I think it's what's best for her and what's right for her. Not me, or maybe not other people, but for her it's the right thing to do.
She amazes me, and she has a place in the school until she comes to me and says no more.
I think what we've learned from Mrs. Fowler is to continue to work and stay in the workforce as long as you're a contributing member of society. She's contributing at a very high level of proficiency, and she should continue to give back to the communities.
She doesn't need to give advice. It's her example by doing that's really so important. She's so committed, so passionate. I hope that I'm fortunate enough to be that committed at the end of my career in teaching as she is.
As a principal, I get bogged down by a lot of the what we like to coin in the profession, administrivia. You know, I spend a lot of time signing things and doing paperwork and everything else like that. And one of the things that Dora has done for me, and I think she's done for everybody, I think it's infectious with her, is that she has been able to teach people that kids are the most important thing in this business.
I don't think it's changed. And when I taught high school, it was the same way. I cared about them, and they knew that. And even I might have a very difficult student. In fact, I think one of the most difficult students I ever taught is a good friend of mine now. I was in the grocery, came to the grocery store, I think 2 weeks ago, and this man's voice was, Mrs. Fowler, and it was this student that when I had him, was very, very difficult, but I think he knew that I cared about him. And there have been very few students that by June I haven't felt friendly with, and they haven't felt friendly with me.
One of the stories I like to pass on is that I've been superintendent here for 3 graduating classes. Invariably, children graduating those classes, 1, sometimes 2, have felt compelled enough to come to me and say, I would not have graduated if it wasn't for Mrs. Fowler.
A few years ago, Dora Fowler received a bouquet of flowers. And of course, she has many admirers. We weren't surprised by that, but she came in so pleased because it was actually a bouquet of flowers from a student who had recently graduated against all odds, a student who had struggled through his tenure at the school. And she was able to help him pass tests and help him graduate, and it was a thank you bouquet, and I'm sure one of many that she's received over the years.
I think that keeps her going, because it's absolutely true, I'm sure. Because I hear stories like that, and when they find out who I am, that I'm a nephew of Dora Fowler, the stories will come.
It almost makes me want to cry. And it does, because I know in my heart that somebody else could have done it, and I'm glad the Lord let me do it.
Her continuing to stay into the system and not be concerned about her age, which she shouldn't be. She's still performing her job very, very well. Others at her age would have left. There's no reason for her to leave. She's still giving to the system. She's still giving to children.
I cannot fathom the idea or the thought of working in public education for 57 years. And now she's coming on to her 58th. I just can't. I can't fathom it. And her enthusiasm and her endurance is just mind-boggling, and it reminds me, and it keeps me recharged. Absolutely keeps me recharged.
You may not believe this, but I don't feel like a celebrity. I don't feel important. I don't feel proud. I don't feel anything. Isn't that, it's incredible. I should feel something, but I don't. I feel I have a story to tell. I want to reach people, but I just don't feel anything special. I'm not special. I don't feel special. I don't feel unusual. I just feel that there's so many, many others that are just as good.
She's an inspiration. She's not a person that's here, working as a CEO or working in a Fortune 500 company. She's a humble woman that loves kids, that keeps on teaching, and it's something that should be inspiring to our materialistic society, because she's an exception.
I'm probably one of the few really happy people around, because I'm just satisfied with what I've got, and I'm not looking for anything more.
Teaching was certainly Mrs. Fowler's calling, without question. This is her life, part of it anyway, a big part of it.
She will leave a legacy of endurance and integrity, and a fond love for learning. And there will be a place that will be created somewhere in the halls of the school, as long as I'm here, that will recognize her very publicly in perpetuity.
And I think she'll always be remembered as someone who was a great teacher, and someone that, when you think back on your life and all your teachers, I think she'll stand out as one that certainly was outstanding.
And I expect up in heaven there will be some poor little kid that needs help.
So Roxbury as a community and as a school will continue as long after Mrs. Fowler retires. However, we will miss her.
Anybody that can dress to the nines and wear high heels every day to work, like her for 58 years, who has a big smile on her face every time you see her, is going to be missed.
Can't imagine life without her.
When Dora Fowler leaves Roxbury Central School, the school will be so sad to see her go, because she is such a positive role model to not only students but also to staff. And so many people have been affected by her.
If you make a difference in someone's life, it's a marvelous feeling. It's just an incredible feeling. To go to graduation and see people stand up there graduate, and you know that you had a part in their graduating, it's a wonderful feeling. Or to go to I went to a church baccalaureate service in this great big tall senior. His friends all around him. He left the friends and came over and gave me a hug. Those are the things that make life worth living.